1. The empty house. When my wife broke her hip, the doctors insisted she stay at St. Anthony's Hospital until she could walk again. That left me, 73 years old, widowed in all but name, alone in the house on Moncrief Place. It was an old place. Wooden bones, narrow halls, and a kind of quiet that pressed against your ears. But I'd lived there 30 years, and I wasn't afraid of it. I had my little routines: supper at 6, a tune on the mandolin before bed, a cup of warm milk when the wind came down from the mountains. It was late September when I first noticed things weren't right. At first, it was just food missing from the pantry. A bit of bacon, some bread. I thought I'd forgotten. Then the mandolin moved, slightly, from where I left it. One night, I heard a faint tapping sound in the walls. Like fingernails. Mice, I told myself. Old houses make noises. But the tapping kept happening, always after dark, always from above. 2 footsteps overhead. By mid-October, I was losing sleep. The noises had grown louder, a scuffling, deliberate movement. Not like rats, but like feet. I started locking every door and window. Even the pantry. Once, while washing dishes, I thought I saw something reflected in the window, a shadow crossing behind me. I turned, but the kitchen was empty. That night, I set a chair under the doorknob of my bedroom. The floorboards creaked once, just once, around 2 in the morning. Then silence. The next day, I went to my neighbor, Mrs. Ross. I told her I might have a prowler. She laughed kindly and said, "Oh, Philip, it's probably just the wind." I wanted to believe her. God, I really did. 3. The forgotten friend. I didn't know it then, but someone was in my house. His name was Theodore Edward Connies, and I had met him years earlier, just once, at a social club downtown. A thin, sickly man, always cold, always coughing. He'd fallen on hard times after the Depression and drifted from job to job, mostly homeless. When he came by that summer, I'd given him dinner. I never saw him leave. What I didn't know was that, while I washed the dishes that night, he'd gone exploring, found a small square hole in the ceiling of my closet, leading into the attic. He climbed up, curled into the darkness, and never left. 4. The man in the attic. Imagine it, a man living above you, silent as dust, crawling out only when you sleep. Connies would sneak down at night, barefoot, pale as a ghost. He'd take food, water, anything he needed, and return to his little black hole before dawn. He grew thinner, quieter. His clothes hung off him like spiderwebs. He learned to move with the rhythm of the house. When I coughed, he froze. When I left, he breathed again. For weeks, I felt the air change without knowing why. I'd wake and smell old sweat. Hear a breath that wasn't mine. Once, I woke to see the closet door move. Just a fraction. I told myself it was a draft. 5. The night of the murder. It was October 17th. I remember because the mandolin string snapped as I played. I went to the kitchen for a fresh one, and I heard it, a faint click from the hall closet. I turned. The door was slightly open. "Who's there?" I called. Silence. Then, the smallest whisper of motion. The kind you feel more than hear. Before I could move, the door opened wider and something stepped out. A man. Gaunt, gray, eyes sunken deep. He looked like something dug out of the earth. I saw the hammer in his hand before I could even shout. Then, white light. Pain. And nothing. 6 weeks later. Neighbors found me the next morning. The doors were locked from the inside. No windows broken. They couldn't explain how anyone got in or out. The police searched every inch of the house. Nothing. Mrs. Peters, my wife, came home weeks later. She stayed, despite the whispers that the house was haunted. But the noises didn't stop. She heard them too, footsteps, shuffling, breathing. Sometimes, the smell of old cigarettes. One night she screamed, convinced someone was watching her sleep. The police came again. This time, they searched higher. One officer noticed a faint square outline in the closet ceiling, an access panel coated in dust. He pushed it open and aimed his flashlight. 2 eyes stared back. 7. The Spider-Man. They found Theodore Connies crouched in the corner of the attic, barely alive. His skin was ghost white. He'd been living there for months, surviving on stolen food and water. When they pulled him down, he blinked against the light like a creature born underground. He said nothing at first, just smiled. Later, in his confession, he said he'd gone up there to rest a while. He hadn't meant to kill me. But when I discovered him, he panicked. He lived in that attic for 9 months. 9 months of crawling through walls, listening to the house breathe, watching me from cracks in the ceiling. The newspapers called him the Denver Spider-Man. 8. The house remains. The house still stands on Moncrief Place. Neighbors say you can hear faint footsteps at night, not ghosts, but echoes of something worse, the sound of someone living just above you. And every once in a while, a new tenant moves in. They'll mention hearing things in the ceiling. A creak. A breath. A sound that makes them freeze mid-step. They tell themselves it's just the pipes. Just an old house settling. That's what I told myself too. Until the day the closet door opened. This story is entirely true. The murder of Philip Peters and the discovery of Theodore Edward Connies, the Denver Spider-Man, were documented by the Denver police in 1941. Connies died in prison in 1967.